Hello, Meoni here, and welcome to Fashion Report Friday, the weekly video series trying to get you the most MGP from the minigame inside the Gold Saucer called the Fashion Report every Friday when judging begins. This is week 136, and the theme this time is Desert Mage. At first I read that as Dessert Mage and expected there to be ice cream, but alas, there is no ice cream, so it's a Desert Mage after all, sadly. The clues this week include thinly veiled for your helm, I believe in magic for your chest, mountain bread for your legs, and bookworm for your feet. Some of those clues should give you a good idea as to what to expect, but if not, here is a 100 score followed by an 80 with dies. There will be no easy 80 this week because simply there isn't one. So, for the helm, I went with the Star Velvet Hood of Casting. This is a crafted item with Weaver, pretty easy to actually make. Obviously, you know, if you don't want to do this, you can go for the Hood of Healing as well. I would say casting and healing is your best bet this week for your choice of helm. Alternatives to this that do actually give gold, though, include the Copper Nickel Turban of Striking and Scouting that you can buy from Norlays in the Pillars of Ishgard in a jeweled Grosier for 19,000 odd gil. But of course, I would lean against this. Simply for the 100 score this week, you do need to be a caster or a healer, which is unfortunate. Other alternatives include the Ghost Bark Turban of Healing from the Siren Song Sea in Stormblood, the Antiquated Constellation Turban, which is obviously the Astrologian job gear at level 70 for the helm, and Alamegan Turban of Gathering will also give you gold for that slot. For the chest then, the reason I said that you have to be a caster or a healer is because all of these options that work are for casters or healers. Surprise, surprise. So the one I went with is the Cashmere Robe of Casting, simply because I didn't want to run too many dungeons this week. And so obviously we can craft that with a basic Weaver recipe, or get that from a market board. Alternatives include the Acolyte's Robe, which is a robe from Satasha or Tamtara Deepcroft. That's one of the easier ones to get, of course. I believe you can also go in Copperbell Mines for that one. The Battle Mage's Robe from Brayflox's Longstop on normal. The Pilgrim's Robe from the Lost City of Amdapor, the Magician's Robe, which drops from Halatali Hard and Brayflox's Hard. The Vanya Robe of Casting and Healing also works. That's a crafted Weaver chest piece. And the Royal Vest, which is actually from the Alliance Raid, the Labyrinth of the Ancients. So again, they're definitely pointing you towards being a caster or a healer this week, unfortunately. For the legs then, I went with the Nomad's Breaches of Casting. Now, this is actually from the last boss of Bardam's Metal, a dungeon in Stormblood. And essentially all of the Nomad's Breaches, all the legs from the Bardam's Metal dungeon from the last boss and the chest before the last boss, in fact, will all give you gold rating, but obviously getting the one you want to drop is pretty painful, and it took me all day, which is why this video is a lot later than it usually goes out, because I had to farm this stuff, obviously. Obviously, other alternatives include the Kudzu Culottes of Crafting and Gathering, because they share the same model. You can actually buy those from Muto in Kagane, but of course they're locked to crafters or gatherers, which is not ideal, and certainly doesn't help us towards our 100. For the feet then, the final item, again we're doing yet another dungeon. This week is pretty brutal, so we are after either the caster or the healing boots, aren't we, considering that chest piece. I went for the Sharlayan Philosopher's boots. That's the name of the casting boots. You can get these from the Great Google Library on normal mode. Thankfully, the boots are from the first boss, and in fact the treasure coffer just after you beat that boss in the next corridor just to the left actually drops these as well, or at least has a chance to drop them. There's about 7 different items per item slot variant on that loot table, so you might be doing this quite a bit. So there we go, that's the 100 score, basically running 2 dungeons endlessly and being locked to a caster or healer, which is unfortunate to say the very least. I think you'll agree. So let's go on to the die options, and I'd like to say that the dies were actually any better. Unfortunately, they're really not. The best in slot dies then included dyeing your weapon gunmetal black, your helm gunmetal black, your chest, your hands and your legs pumpkin orange, which actually isn't too bad. That's a basic crafted dye there, or from the market board quite cheaply. And then finally for your feet, another gunmetal black. Now, I did spend essentially 300,000 gil on this video to get those particular 3 dyes. It shows you just how expensive gunmetal black is and how few people are actually still doing the diadem. Of course, people will be doing that as of, next week, even when the next stage of the Ishgard restoration comes out. But unfortunately, the prices on those dyes is pretty high right now, and it's only set to be a lot worse as more people do Fashion Report. So that comes to the idea of what are we going to do for an easy 80, and honestly I didn't put one together because it's simply just not easy regardless of what you go for. My best advice to you is to basically choose an item off of this list for each of those slots. So, I don't know, you could go for the... Let's say you went for the Acolyte's Robe. I mean, that's from the lowest level dungeon, right? The Tamtara Deepcroft or Copperbell Mines. Get the Acolyte's Robe and then dye some hands and legs, some pumpkin orange, for example. Or we could go for the Copper Nickel Turban of Striking. Maybe dye that just soot black. That might be enough if you dye a couple of other bits. Basically, my problem came down to the easiest possible isn't really that easy either. It's going to rely on you being a certain class or a certain level or having gil or whatever. So yeah, I'm really interested to see what people in the comment section have as their own solutions. Feel free to share those. I'll of course link the theory crafting thread from Reddit where we collated all of the information this week. Go check that out, but obviously it's not the same as you actually sharing your own solutions. Perhaps I've missed something, perhaps there really is an easy way of getting 80. Let me know in the comments section. I always do love to see the engagement, but that's all I've sadly got for you today for this fashion report. It's definitely one of the harder ones we've seen in many, many weeks. They're definitely not pulling any punches. But there we go. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully this helped in some small way, and I'll see you all next time.